Hey everybody, this video is going out to buy the dip that's at crazy 5525. We were having to talk about what a death cross is, and I wanted to walk them through this, so maybe it's helpful for everyone. First thing we got to know to be able to understand this is moving average, right? Pretty basic. What you've got is you have a line or a moving average that goes through a chart like this, and basically all it's doing is it's adding up everything over a certain period of time and coming up with that average for it, right? And so these are moving averages, and we see them all the time. And so like when I look at this this chart that's not loading, my Intellytics chart, I get moving averages, and I get them everywhere except for on this page because this page is blank. There we go. So here, for instance, in my ADWM, I've got a green line. That's the moving average of everything that's happening. And the moving averages have a period, right? So a period is like common ones are 9 and 14, or 5, 10, 20, 50, and 200. And so these moving averages, you can imagine, well, they're moving at different speeds, and so they cross over. And so, for instance, on this one, the red is my 20, the green is my 50, and the yellow is my 200. The 20, or the one that's a really short term, that's kind of the one that's going to be following the price the most. So we see the 20 move up, the 20 move down, right? And then the 50 is a bit lags a bit more, right? Because it's averaging out 50 periods. So it takes a large number of periods for something to happen. And then the yellow, which is my 200, look, that hasn't even gone down yet. From that massive low right there. I mean, it's just averaging in so many periods. And so what happens is you have a bunch of ways that moving averages can create buy signals, like when a price rises above the 20, that's or a low number moving average. That's definitely a buy signal. And then right here, when you've got it moving below the 20, that's definitely a sell signal, right? And then you've got the other thing where the moving averages themselves cross over. So like the 20 here, the red one, is crossing under the green one, the 50, right? And one that's particularly of interest is when we talk about the 50 and the 200. And that's where we get terms like the golden cross or the death cross. And so I'm waiting on another page to open. Here we go. So here, these are all the moving averages for ENZC. And you got the 5-day, the 20-day, the 50-day, the 100-day, and the 200-day. And you can see right here that the 50-day, right, is lower than the 200-day, right? And what that means is the 50 went under the 200, and people call that a death cross. Now, it is a relatively minor movement below. In fact, when I go into my Schwab account, I show both still at 16 because they're rounding up and rounding down. But yeah, that is certainly a thing. Now, also, meanwhile, the 200 is still moving upwards. It has upward momentum, so it's not nearly as bad. But for instance, if you saw like the news that came out recently about Bitcoin, Bitcoin had a death cross, and it got tons of news. And they're basically saying right here, the 5, 50, and 200-day combinations often attract the most attention, right? Basically, a death cross describes when a short-term average trend line crosses below a long-term average trend line. That short-term is a 50, and the long-term is a 200. And this is the kind of thing that people actually use as trading. So, for instance, here in FinViz, I can do a 200-day simple moving average. And what I'm looking for is a 200-day above a 50. Or I can do even specifically where I'm looking for a 250 cross below a 50. Would be cross below. Sorry, would be a golden cross. Cross above would be the death cross. So it's interesting. I mean, people use these as trading signals, and so here, these are ones where the 200 is higher than the 50, and we can see they all are kind of moving in relatively downward patterns, right? They're not having good days. And so that's of interest. Whereas, for instance, if I did the the 200 is that was 200 below. Oh, sorry, that's 200 above the 50, right? And now let's do 200 below the 50, and we'll see, sure enough, we have upward patterns. So these golden crosses and death crosses are fairly interesting. Now, what I'm imagining is going to happen on the ENZC is that that, I mean, you can just see right there, they're just right on top of each other basically. So not probably a lot's going to happen. And plus, prices is just now starting to get going for us. So I think there's something there. But yeah, these are buy and sell signals for a lot of people. So my screener on Schwab, 50 to 200 day SMA cross, is it bearish, death cross, or bullish, right? So we can run this really fast, and there are 36 stocks that have recently made a death cross. And as you see, ENZC is not here, right? So you don't need to worry about that. But in a day or two, it could play out, and that could be worrisome. So again, this video about Death Cross and what it means was for my boy Buy the Dip, Crazy 5525, really cool cat over on Twitterland. Hang out with him, chat him up. He's a good guy. Cheers.